Alrighty, we are going to kick off today's webinar. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us. And before we get too far into it, I would like to mention to everyone that this webinar session will be recorded and made available in a few days on the webinar page on Orientation's website. If you have any questions during today's webinar or after today's webinar, you're always welcome to email nso@lclerc.edu, and we'll be more than happy to connect you with the office or individual to follow up with you. For today's webinar, we will have some time at the end to answer some questions that you might have. So we ask that you save those questions for later in the Q&A chat. And with that being said, I will introduce today's webinar. I'm joined by 3 different individuals representing 3 different offices here at the college. We have Judy Finch from the Office of the Registrar, Carrie Barnes from Student Accounts, and Anastasia Dillon from Financial Aid. We're here to talk about these 3 offices, give you some important information that you'll need to know, and answer any questions that you might have. And with that being said, I'm going to hand it over to Judy Finch to take us away for today's webinar. Thanks, Judy.
You bet. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to share a little presentation that we have here. And I assume someone will tell me if it is not showing up. All right, well, we would like to welcome you to this presentation. We know that as you're contemplating sending your students to us this fall, you're going to have some questions. You want to make sure that your students are settling in and thriving here on campus. And we assure you that that is our goal as well. Our offices are here to support students, provide them with resources, with information, and with assistance. And we know that some of this information is complicated. And as parents, guardians, and family members, you want to be sure that your students are getting the help they need, doing the right things, and succeeding. You want to understand how things work. Our presentation today is designed to help you understand how we can offer information and how we can help direct your student to resources which should allow them to make good choices. We have time for questions, as Francesca said, at the conclusion of the presentation. So the first thing that we kind of want to talk about today is a federal act which governs how our offices, and indeed how the entire college, can communicate with parents and family. We want to make sure that you understand how our offices are allowed to communicate. It's no fun to be surprised, especially if you're contacting us about a time-sensitive matter or a critical matter. The Family Education Rights and Privacy Act is basically about giving your students the right to determine who will view their educational record. Once a student enters college, regardless of the student's age, the student has the right to determine who has access to their educational record. So what is an educational record? It comprises pretty much everything your students will do here. It's the courses they register for, the tests they take, the conversations they have with professors, their grades, conduct matters, student employment. And yes, even though you are likely footing the bill, it also covers their student account and financial aid records. So what does this mean for you? It basically means that while our offices can always provide general information about policy, procedure, deadlines, and expectations, we can't actually speak about your individual specific student. We're going to encourage you to reach out to your student to ask for information, and we're going to suggest that you have your student contact us directly if there are questions. If we have a conversation with you, we may also want to follow up with your student. We want to be sure that students are getting the help that they need when we're made aware that there may be an issue. Are there exceptions? Absolutely. The student has a right to allow us to provide you with information if the student chooses to do so. The students themselves need to submit a written, signed, and dated release to the appropriate office, or in the case of student accounts, use the available online access granting tool. Carrie will be talking a little bit more about that. For the vast number of educational matters, release forms are collected by the registrar's office, but Carrie and Anastasia will also give you specific information about how your student can share financial information with you. There are also exceptions if your child is in danger or has a health emergency. So where can you find more information? Our FERPA resource webpage can be accessed from the search bar on the college website. The FERPA page gives you options to access the policy itself, and also our family access page, which gives detailed information for family members about communication about your student. You can also find links on the navigation bar. The family page of the FERPA website explains in greater detail what we can share and what we can't share, and what exceptions are made for medical emergencies. While students can allow us to provide information to you, please note it's always in the best interests of our students for them to contact us directly. We always want to speak with the student about any matter so that we're all on the same page. We want the student to be as invested as you are in their education. So moving on from FERPA for a moment, I want to share a little bit more about the registrar's office and some of the resources that we have for your students. So what the heck does a registrar's office do? Well, we maintain and safeguard student records, not just things like grades and academic history, but a lot more. We manage the registration processes. We accept and process all kinds of forms, requests, verification, major declarations, good driver insurance forms, etc., etc. We post the department course schedules, we publish the academic catalog, we manage compliance matters and report to federal agencies on a regular basis, as well as providing data to financial aid, the dean's office, and other offices across campus. We also house the Veterans Administration services for our students, and most importantly, we act as a resource for your students, as well as offices and other staff and faculty across our campus. The registrar not only safeguards your students' records, but we also specialize in answering questions about transfer credit, about academic requirements, about general education, and about policies. As parents, you want to be sure that your students are not only flourishing here with friends and activities and schoolwork, but also progressing towards what we all hope we see soon, graduation. So how do we get them from here to graduation? And where can you find more information about degree requirements, important dates, policies, and procedures? You can find it on the registrar's website. On our website, we have links to the academic calendar. This is where you're going to find important dates for the upcoming semester and future semesters. You can find information about transfer credit, information about leaves. We also have a link to the college catalog. The college catalog is probably one of the best navigation tools your student can use. When you open the college catalog, it opens to a navigation page, which allows you to explore academic departments, allows you to explore policies, service and resources, costs and financial aid, etc. It also allows you to look at what degree requirements are. If you click on the degree requirements or the graduation requirements, as it's called in the link, you're going to see the catalog pages which give you the basic information about degree requirements, how many credits a student needs to take, what their GPA has to be, and also information about general education requirements. General education requirements will, that section of the catalog will explain what the actual requirements are, and it will also provide you with a list of classes that will satisfy that particular requirement. You're currently looking at our bibliographic research and writing requirement. All the other gen ed requirements are similarly explained, and a list of classes follows which satisfy those requirements. The catalog will also give you information about what the major requirements are and what the courses are that will satisfy those. It will list the requirements, and then for some majors below, it will also list specific courses that satisfy specific major requirements. You can also find policies, links to our policies in the catalog. We're currently in the process of publishing our 2023-24 catalog, and it should be online, a link from our website, in about 2 weeks. So this has been a very quick tour of the resources that the Registrar's Office offers. I encourage you to explore our website and the college catalog, and we'll be pointing your students to those resources later this summer. We're located next to the financial aid and student account offices on the ground floor of the Fowler Student Center. And for those of you who have students with transfer credit, your students may have already spoken with either Mary or Chris. You'll find our specific contact information on our webpage. And now I'll turn it over to Carrie.
Great, thank you, Judy. During my portion of the presentation, I'm going to share with you all our contact information, provide you with some important dates, go over authorized party access, what that access provides you, how billing notifications are communicated, and show you where you can submit the student health insurance waiver, and then provide you one last reminder about the due date and registration holds. Our office can be reached at accountservices@lclark.edu. Amanda Aldridge and Katie McMean are 2 new student account specialists that will be starting this July. Based on the student's last name, they will be the student's primary point person for account questions. Lisa Milner is our cashier assisting our service window and is also often responding to the general call questions that come into our office. Jolie Allen is our student account coordinator, and she'll be assisting Amanda and Katie with communications. Some important days to remember are the fall 2023 deadline of August 11th. Thanks, Judy. And the last day to waive the student health insurance is September 19th for the academic year. The last day to waive the green energy and media fee is also September 19th. And if you are enrolled in the monthly payment plan for the fall semester, the first payment is due July 5th. Student account information is accessible through the Student Account Center portal. In order for a parent or guardian to be granted access to the Student Account Center, they need to be provided with authorized party access. When a student logs into the Student Account Center, under the profile information section, there's a link to add authorized party access by clicking add an authorized party. Thanks, Judy. An invite screen will then pop up where you will enter your parents' or guardian's contact information. You can go to the next screen. Thank you. And once the student submits this information, an email is then sent to the authorized party, inviting that individual to create credentials of their own to access the Student Account Center portal. Authorized party access is our FERPA release for the student account information. Without providing this, we are unable to speak with anybody other than the student regarding their student account details. Once you are set up with having authorized party access, you can log in anytime to view live account information by going to mycollegepaymentplan.com/lclark and clicking on Enroll Today, which I know is confusing, but it is clicking on Enroll Today, and that will redirect you to a login page for authorized party. This is where you'll be able to log in with your authorized party credentials. I recommend bookmarking this page for quick access in the future. So what is the Student Account Center portal? This portal will provide you with live account details that will display the total amount due after any pending financial aid, transaction details, the ability to remit payment, enroll in a monthly payment plan, and view a complete history of billing statements that have been generated. Additionally, students and authorized party designees also receive a monthly e-bill notification emailed to them that directs them to log into the Student Account Center to view a current statement. This statement is just a snapshot of account activity at the time the printable PDF was created. Since this notice is generated for anyone that has a balance due, it is worth noting that individuals enrolled in monthly payment plan will receive this notice. We encourage you to still click on the Access Account link to verify that your monthly payment plan balance continues to match the balance due, as students may have made changes to their registration that impact their costs. When you click on Access Account, you'll be immediately redirected to the Statement Activity view. Here, you can review all past statements and important information that has been included on each statement. If you click the Home tab at the top, you'll be redirected to the Live View landing page, where you can compare your monthly payment plan balance against your charges. And lastly, I want to share with you the website for waiving student health insurance. Students who have comparable health insurance of their own may waive from participation in the LC-sponsored student health insurance at the link provided on this slide. All students are initially charged for the student health insurance. Once the waiver is complete, the charge will then be removed from the student account within 24 to 72 hours. Students are provided one opportunity a year to waive coverage for the full academic year. The waiver must be completed by September 19th for this academic year. Please work with your student regarding if they have comparable coverage and ensuring that they make the waiver deadline. We are unable to provide guidance on if their insurance has comparable coverage, although you can locate a breakdown of what is considered comparable coverage by going to the student health insurance page. And as I hand it over to Anastasia, just want to squeeze in one last reminder that the due date is August 11th. And in order to avoid any registration holds, I recommend settling by the due date. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Carrie, and welcome everyone. It's always such a pleasure to work with Judy and Carrie. We're all located right around the same area. And so we do work with families in conjunction with each other, even though we're in different areas. So it's really nice to be here and to be chatting with you today. So in the Office of Financial Aid, what I want to talk with you about today is how we communicate, the financial aid team, a little bit about this policy. It's called Satisfactory Academic Progress. And then I want to talk a little bit about reapplying for financial aid for next year and some important dates. Okay, so it's really important to know that the way that we communicate with your students is through their Lewis and Clark email address. That's the way that we know that it's a secure communication, that it's going just to the student. And so it's really going to be important to know that that's where we're going to be sending any information that your student needs to know. So if you can help us to encourage your student to be checking their Lewis and Clark email, that would be really great. We hear sometimes from students like, oh, I don't check my email. And unfortunately, students who don't check their email sometimes miss out on important information and miss important deadlines. And so if you can help us to help your student be checking their email, that would be really helpful and an important part of kind of getting oriented to the Lewis and Clark community. Okay. This is how you can contact the financial aid office. Like I mentioned, we're located on the lower level of the Fowler Student Center, right across the hall from both the registrar's office and the student accounts office. We're available by phone or by email on regular business hours. We are closed on Wednesdays so that we can do file processing. In addition, we're open for in-person appointments or in-person drop-by appointments during the kind of the mid-morning to afternoon on, again, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. We've got a great team They're working with our students, our undergraduate students in the financial aid office. Sheila Jacob is our associate director, and she really oversees the services for our undergraduate students. She works with a relatively small caseload, just a couple of last name alphabet ranges, but she also works with families who are in maybe more complicated or changing financial aid situations. And then we have Joanne Leon, who is our assistant director, is working with students whose last names start with B through L. And then Shannon Cleveland, our financial aid counselor, is working with the remaining folks in the alphabet, last name starting M through S. We also have myself and then our senior associate director who are available to help and are happy to connect with folks who have questions about financial aid. All right, so one of the questions that we get a lot is, so what does my student need to do to maintain eligibility so they can keep receiving financial aid while they're at Lewis and Clark? And this is a really important policy in that respect. It's called satisfactory academic progress. Basically, the idea here is that as long as students are making progress towards graduation, kind of in a satisfactory way, then they can maintain eligibility for financial aid. To make that what we call satisfactory academic progress, students need to maintain a cumulative GPA of at least a 2.0, and they need to complete at least 67% of the credits that they register for, so that they're completing at least 2/3 of the credits that they're registering for. Now, most Lewis and Clark students will complete all of the classes that they register for, but this is a requirement of the federal student aid programs that we have this kind of a policy in place. The other thing that students need to make sure to do is to not be on academic probation. If students are on academic probation, then they're not going to be eligible for financial aid. We do check this information, check the status of all of our students at the end of each semester. If the students are not on academic probation, but maybe their GPA is a little bit low, or maybe they haven't completed at least 2/3 of their classes, then they will get a warning semester. So we will send them a notice that just says, hey, just want to make sure that you're aware, you're a little bit below the standards, but you have one more semester of financial aid to kind of turn the ship around and to get back in alignment with the policy. After that warning semester, or if a student is on academic probation, they will get a notice that says that they're not eligible for financial aid. However, if your student is getting this notice, please have them read the next paragraph in the notice that does invite them to submit a petition letter and an academic plan that helps explain kind of why they're in this situation, what they're doing, what their plan is for moving forward and completing their degree requirements, so that we can consider reinstating their financial aid eligibility. Like Judy mentioned earlier, we want to get your student to graduation. And there are some federal rules that we need to follow, and we hope that we've set this policy up in a way that really can support your students' plan for graduation and help connect them with different resources on campus that can help them move through and graduate. Okay, now financial aid is a year-by-year process. So you've applied for financial aid for the upcoming year. You will need to reapply for financial aid every year that your student is here. We do ask that the 24-25 FAFSA be filed by February 15th in order to allow us enough time to process the financial aid and have that ready for your student. So if you're interested in being considered for Lewis and Clark need-based aid and any of the federal or state financial aid programs, we will need to have you refile that FAFSA form, the 24-25 FAFSA in February of 24. If the only thing that your student has received is a merit-based scholarship, one of our Oregon Maple, Sequoia, or Neely scholarships, and that's the only thing that you're interested in renewing, you do not need to file the FAFSA. We will automatically renew those scholarships as long as your student has made that satisfactory academic progress that we talked about in the last slide. We do sometimes when a student files a FAFSA, as we are looking at that, there is additional information that we will need. And there are two places that students can go to get to know that we need that additional information. The first is we will send them an email. So that's another good reason why they need to be checking their email. But students can also log into their self-service portal through WebAdvisor, and the information that we need will be listed there. Okay, so I just wanted to leave you with some key dates for financial aid. So at this point, kind of your next time frame is if you are planning on processing any of the federal student loans or the federal parent loans for the upcoming year, please make sure that you have processed those loans. There are a couple different steps. If you have questions about those, you're welcome to reach out to fao@lclark.edu and we can help you with that. But it is important to process those loans now so that Carrie and her team knows that that's funding that's going to be coming in to help pay on your student account. And again, if you have questions about what you need to do right now about any of the student loans, like I said, email FAO and we can help you on an individual basis. And then in terms of next year, reapplying for financial aid, the FAFSA will be available in December of this year. So not October like it was this year, because the Department of Education is making some changes to the FAFSA form. So mark your calendar that you want to file the FAFSA. You can start in December, but we would really like to have you finish the FAFSA by the middle of February. And then in April is when we would want to make sure that we have any additional information that we've requested from your student. We release financial aid awards for our continuing students in June. And then again in July, we ask that you process your any of the federal student loans. So those are some of the key dates that for the financial aid process. And I think that is going to leave us plenty of time for questions. And so Francesca, you want to help us with the questions here?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll start by answering the first one that's been in our Q&A chat, but for the rest of our attendees, now would be a great time to drop your questions into that chat. We have a question here from Indira who asks where they would go to accept their financial aid or student loans.
Okay. All right, that's a great question. So once you have your Lewis and Clark email account, you can log in to what we call WebAdvisor. And then if you click on, there's a financial aid section in WebAdvisor and you click on the links there, that will take you into what we call self-service. And self-service allows you to take a look at your financial aid award, and it's in a and it actually allows you to kind of click to accept things. We don't require that you accept. We assume that you're going to accept any of your grants and scholarships, so we don't require you to click accept for those types of aid. However, we are not going to process any of your student loans unless you do click accept, because we don't want to process a loan that you actually didn't want to borrow. And so you're going to click accept there. That tells us that you're intending to borrow the loan. There are some additional steps that students need to do to process their loan. They need to log into their account in on the studentaid.gov, and they need to do complete what's called a master promissory note, and also do what's called entrance counseling. And entrance counseling is just kind of a student rights and responsibilities regarding the federal student loan program. It's really good information. Plus, it's required, so we need to have students do that. Once all three of those pieces, you've accepted the loan, you've done your master promissory note, and you've completed the entrance counseling, then we can set your loan up so that Carrie's team knows that that funding is there. Federal student loan funding comes right at the beginning of the semester. And so that way we have all those pieces in line right at the beginning of the semester. The money can actually go onto the student account.
Wonderful. Speaking of student accounts, we do have a few questions for Carrie. Carrie, we have a question from someone about monthly payments and being billed. If a student does not sign up for a monthly payment, what does that billing process look like?
So the bills for the fall semester are going to go out in early July, and the costs for fall semester are due August 11th. So if you are not electing to enroll in a monthly payment plan, then it'd be the full cost due on that August 11th date. If you're choosing to enroll in a monthly payment plan, then you're going to be billed separately through Nelnet for those costs. We do not have an in-house monthly payment plan. It's an outside company that we partner with, and you'll get bills from them. And what we are looking to have established if you're doing the monthly payment plan is that you are current and with your payments with Nelnet and fully enrolled with them if you're going that pathway by that August 11th date. And their payments are due July 5th is when they start. That's the first payment.
Wonderful. The second question someone asked Carrie was about those two dates. So July 5th is when they will receive their full bill, which includes room, board, tuition, and all those fees. Correct?
July 7th is actually when
July
it goes out.
7th.
So yes, there is that gap in time there of when the monthly payment plan with Nelnet starts July 5th, but our bills go out July 7th. So the expectation will be you doing the down payment. So that first payment when you enroll in that payment plan, once you have your bill on July 7th, you go in, you'd make your down payment and enroll in the plan. And then you'd have your 4 remaining payments that would be made through Nelnet with the final payment in November 5th.
Wonderful. Great. Thank you, Carrie. We have some more questions here going back to some of the financial aid FAFSA. So someone asked, can we assume need-based scholarship amounts will vary year to year depending on FAFSA?
Technically, they can vary from year to year. Typically, what we see, though, is that most families' financial situation is relatively stable from year to year. And so when we see variations, it's because of changes one way or the other in a family's financial situation. Our goal is to keep your financial aid as stable as possible, given the information on the FAFSA. And so we do seek to renew the aid that your student has been given, as long as they're still eligible for that, based on the FAFSA information. And certainly, if there are changes that are happening in your family's situation, where you're concerned about that, you're welcome to reach out to us, and we can chat with you on an individual basis.
On that note of scholarships, I see someone had another question about merit-based scholarships. They asked how merit scholarships are determined and if that amount would increase or change.
Yeah, okay, thanks. So our merit-based scholarships, the Oregon Maple and Sequoia Scholarship, as well as the Neely Scholarship, are awarded at a fixed dollar amount. And so the dollar amount of the scholarship that you were awarded for this year is the same dollar amount as will be awarded to you in subsequent years. Again, as long as you're meeting that satisfactory progress policy requirements, those amounts don't change. And the way that those amounts are determined is really, it's based on the kind of all of the pieces that go into your admission application. That's kind of how the dollar amount of that scholarship is determined.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, I'm going to flip back to Carrie with some other student account questions. I believe someone wants to just clarify that when they receive their bill this summer and that deadline for August payments, that is just for the fall semester, correct?
Correct, yeah, we bill on a per semester basis.
Great. And then someone also wanted to clarify if their bills will be mailed to them or emailed to the student.
So it's going to be electronic, and it's not going to be an attachment via email. It's something where you're getting a notice in your email that you have a bill to view, and then you log into the Student Account Center to view your bill.
Wonderful. And then finally, someone else wants to know if there is a difference in the total that is owed when you pay monthly versus paying all at once by that August 11th deadline.
No, there is not.
Great. Alrighty. I see someone here did have a follow-up for Anastasia about where to go in WebAdvisor for processing and looking through those student loans. Do you have a page or a website that we maybe can share with that person on how that WebAdvisor page looks for them or their student?
Yeah, I mean, I think what you can do, what I would advise is, Judy showed some pictures of our website in the search bar. I would put WebAdvisor, just W-E-B advisor in the search. That will take you to the WebAdvisor. WebAdvisor is a portal that kind of connects you out to some different areas. And one of the sections, there's kind of a big menu page that comes up when you log into WebAdvisor, and one of them will be the financial aid. And so you can click in there, but you do need to log in to WebAdvisor to get that access, which means that your student will need to log in with their Lewis and Clark credentials, their Lewis and Clark email and password.
Wonderful. I see someone here, it looks like maybe this is a parent asking a question on behalf of their student. They want to learn more about how their student can access WebAdvisor and email. This information is included in the new student summer checklist. If your student is having trouble creating their student account or logging into email, feel free to send an email to nso@lclark.edu, and my office will work with your student to make sure they're able to log into different LC portals, process through different summer tasks and stuff like that. That being said, it seems like the same parent has another question in terms of parent access to financial bills and stuff like that. So Carrie, could you maybe talk about what it looks like for a parent to be able to have access to financial information for their student?
Yeah, so it's their student, we need to enroll them in the authorized party access in order for a parent to be able to have any sort of access to those billing statements and view live account information. And it's also worth noting, it's again, our FERPA release and being able to have conversations. So if you call us over the phone and you want to get details about the account, we won't be able to go over that unless your student's taken that action.
And so if there were multiple students who are trying to, or multiple parents who are trying to pay for bills, perhaps students have two separate households, would they both be able to register and kind of create a payment plan with swapping off who pays month to month?
Yeah, definitely. That's a great question. Yeah, you can have multiple parties, as many as you need to have access to your account, or as many as you want to give access to your account. And each one of those individuals can go ahead and enroll in a monthly payment plan. So one person can have multiple monthly payment plans established.
Wonderful.
And Francesca, I'm going to jump in here for just a moment too, to talk a little bit about access to accounts. I know we've got a question about how a student can access email if they're not quite sure how to get to that, if they've already set it up. The first thing that I want to kind of let people know is that, as Anastasia said earlier, our Lewis and Clark email account for students is our communication method with your students. And part of that reason is because that email is secure and private. Students, as much as parents might like them to, students cannot actually share their login information. They should not be sharing passwords. That is a direct violation of our responsible use of technology policy. And it can mean that the student's account gets shut down if they've shared a password. It's very important for us to adhere to the federal law about communicating that we have a safe and secure email account with the student. Now, if you would like to ask your student if they would be willing to share emails with you, they're more than welcome to forward them to you. But please don't have your student share their password with you. Now, there's a couple of things that your student can do if they're having problems accessing an account that they believe they set up. They can first of all check with Francesca's office, the NSO, who can help them make sure they've really set it up correctly. If they're still having some problems, they can work with either my office or the IT office. We'd be happy to help wherever we can.
Yes, wonderful, Judy. That is always something important that we want to make students are aware of. Please do not share your password. It gets you into a lot of different portals as well, outside of just email. So keeping those accounts secure is really important for our data integrity. I see another question that has come in about grants and scholarships, I believe. Someone asks, are the grants, for example, the Walker Endowment, granted for only 1 year, or can they be extended for next year's too? Is it necessary to renew FAFSA in order to keep it? And is it the same for work study?
Okay, all right. So let's take the Walker grant. I actually should have put the Walker grant under the category of grants that don't require the FAFSA in order to renew. So you can expect the Walker grant to be, if you have the Walker grant, to be renewed at the same dollar amount moving forward. The Lewis and Clark grant and anything that's called Lewis and Clark Endowment Scholarship, and we have a variety of other types of aid, which really are truly need-based and are based on the FAFSA. In terms of work study, students who have federal work study in their financial aid award and are interested in renewing that for a future year, we do require the FAFSA for that because that is a federal aid source. So if you have any of the federal student loans, federal work study, or any of the Lewis and Clark need-based funding, we do need to have you reapply for that funding by completing the FAFSA each year. And like I said before, we're really interested in keeping the financial aid as stable as possible. However, if you do know that you're going to have, if there are some big swings in your family's income, if there are big changes that are up, but please don't hesitate to reach out and let us know. Sheila, our associate director, or I can have those conversations with you.
Wonderful. Someone just wants to clarify if the faculty scholarship is one of the renewable scholarships.
Yes, renewable at the same dollar amount.
Wonderful. Alrighty. Well, we've now blasted through all of the questions that were dropped into our chat. I'll take a moment here just to see if there's any other Q&As that people want to bring up. But while I do that, I'll just again reiterate that all of us are available via email as well as phone call throughout the summer and of course into the academic year. So if you are having questions arise, especially once you start to see bills come your way, class registration is happening in the registrar's office, all these different events, you're more than welcome to reach out to us for more assistance or clarity, especially if it's something very student specific, like what your financial aid award reads, how you're trying to process through your student account statement. Someone did ask if students are able to access the student portal only after the 6th of July.
Yes, that's when it will open up for them to be able to do that. Yeah.
Wonderful. Alrighty, well, for our panelists, Judy, Carrie, Anastasia, is there any final closing words or things you want to remind anyone who's attending this webinar today?
Oh, we look forward to seeing your students.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. And maybe check your email.
Yes, that's a great one. And welcome.
Yes. Alrighty. Well, again, thank you all for attending. We will post this webinar recording on our NSO website for later viewing in case you do want to listen back to any of the important information that we shared here today. Thank you all for being here and answering questions and sharing more about your office.
Great. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks all.